Maybe that's why. But there's so yeah, she gets going on the whole like history of the world, and so yeah, like 50,000 years ago, I think she said, up until 50,000 years ago, we had like a one world, and we were doing great, and then like aliens come, and then we lived here, and there was the fall, and so we went down again. Then 25,000 years ago, we fell down again because, and I guess people were living here. We were living here doing good, but then like there would be aliens flying down, and like the evil aliens, the ones who were trying to control us, flying down here, and there was no other aliens like stopping them, I guess, because they were just trying to. They believed in free will, and they were going to try and let them do what they do, and try to, let the humans live here, trying to teach them by example, I guess, by living good lives. But then, they came down and they genetically kept bringing us down genetically until finally we crashed, and we had all the wars between, I guess, the good aliens and the bad aliens. Or maybe it was between one faction of bad aliens against the other faction of bad aliens, the reptilians against the Anunnaki, with the kind of like the humans kind of like going like, damn, and then the guardian races being like, oh my god. So, and that's what the Mahabharata is all about. The Mahabharata, I've actually been listening to it. It's 234 hours of solid listening time. You can download off my website. I'm still towards the beginning. I'm only like a few hours into it, but most of the Mahabharata is talking about wars, and the Bhagavad Gita is about one big war. But I mean, I've already been. If you listen to the Mahabharata, it's obviously they talk about the gods. They talked about a big city in the sky that could fly, that could go into the ocean and go under the ocean and live under the ocean, and then fly out and go in the sky again. And that's basically how Bashar says it is. Bashar, they're the Sathani, the aliens, who are half gray, half human, live 300 years in the future in another dimension, a parallel universe. They don't have cities like we do. Like in the future, and even Al Bielek said this when he went 700 years in the future. He said, we're not even going to have this in 700 years, because once we get anti-gravity, we'll really use anti-gravity in ways that we haven't even understood yet. We won't have cities the way we do. All of our cities will be movable. Our cities will be spaceships. And then we'll just leave the Earth to just be a giant park, a giant, party place for mountain biking and kayaking, all this stuff. Forests, that's what our Earth will be. It'll be like the Ewok planet of, Star Trek 3. And our cities will actually be these giant, and so, we'll park like a big, and there's even a drawing from the Bhagavad Gita as this big, like, movable city. So, like, they'll park this giant spaceship, which is like, 100 miles across, plop it down somewhere in a field, and that's their city where they live. And if they want to move their city, they just land it someplace else, or they bring it up to hover above the earth or whatever, or they have it live under the ocean. Anyways, that's what the Mahabharata was actually describing at one point. And but the Mahabharata was also talking about all the rishis and the Varishnu race and all these different races and the gods, and so there's all these different gods and stratified, living up in the sky and in space. And anyways, they had this big war. They blew up one of those cities, which came crashing. Okay, this is my third card. The second card filled up too, even though it said it had like 1.5 gigabytes on it. This card's supposed to have 1.3 gigabytes, so we'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully it won't last only 1 minute like the last one. So anyways, I was talking about the Varishnu. Yeah, like in the Mahabharata, there's the Varishnu race, there's the Rishis, and all these other different races and aliens. And then they were talking about missiles, laser beams, like a missile that could hit anything, even the smallest one thing, like really far away. I mean, they described it really well in the Mahabharata, and I was listening to it from a computer program reading it to me. And then all of a sudden you'd hear like this whole like litany of rules and ways to live correctly, which, be selfless. He who believes in God is he who, and then don't be like really advanced stuff. I mean, if people were living by this, people were living really, really sophisticated and really good people back a long time ago. You know, people like to think like back in the olden days we were all a bunch of, you know, barbarians. Maybe it's true if you're talking like hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, but like back then in the day of the Mahabharata, with all the stuff they were talking about, ways to live, I mean, they were really advanced. And so it's like kind of like half the Mahabharata was talking about some war, again, between the gods with this high technology, and then the other half, all of a sudden, you know, it would go into like some like sage came in and he's giving his spiritual teaching, you know. It was kind of hard for me to pay attention to it though, because I don't know, it's hard. So I was only getting a little bit of it, you know. It was kind of like background noise for me. But you know, I'll just listen to it again. A whole nother 234 hours of it, until eventually maybe I'll understand the whole thing. But yeah, if you listen to Mahabharata, you'll really understand that this shit is real. And I actually listened to the Bible of the Incas, and they were talking about Atlantis. They even named it. After the fall of Atlantis, the survivors came to and started a city, and you know, in the high plains. It's crazy, man. It's written right there. Stuff's like plain view sight. All you have to do is listen to that shit. You know, you can get it off my internet, off my website. But anyways, but yeah, she says that like they came here and the Illuminati, I guess, are the ones who are connected to the evil aliens. Now, the way that I understand this, evil aliens controlling us, is that all the different humans on this earth have genetically and with their souls, their oversoul, their soul family, are connected to lots of different alien races. This world is a mishmash of lots of different alien races. Like this world, and she even made this analogy, like in Star Wars 1, when they go into the bar and there's all the different aliens. Like that's what the Earth is like. Like if we were all to die, like if there's a plane crash, and we were all to step out of the plane and like live in our real bodies, and our etheric bodies, the ones that we're used to living in, we'd all look like all kinds of different wacky aliens. Like that's how cosmopolitan this planet is. This planet is like the New York of the cosmos, and because it's just this, it's kind of like this. It's like a focal point. It's like a battleground. It's like the maybe not. It's the New York of the cosmos, cosmopolitan-wise, diversity-wise, but it's the Israel-Palestine conflict place of the universe, where it's the people with this idea are living here alongside the people with this idea, with this different oversoul, and the two oversouls don't like each other, and the oversouls being aliens, also being aliens. So like maybe when you die, you go back to your spaceship and you go, oh, should I live again in a human body to try and get them to, I don't know. So, or you're reincarnate in your alien body on a spaceship, overlooking here. And I guess they all have their own home planets doing their own thing, but they, bring them over here to try to influence this world. I don't know. But, I guess the Illuminati, the ones who, I guess the people who have been controlling this world for the last 5,000 years, have actually been the bad ones, the Anunnaki, and the reptilian aliens. They back in the year 3,500 BC, 5,500 years ago, 5,600 years ago. I guess that's when the Tower of Babel happened. That's when the final in the Tower of Babel, I guess what she says, it was the final destruction of the human race, genetic-wise, biologic-wise, is when the aliens finally were like, all right, we're going to really fuck these people. And they took out a lot of our DNA, all the way down to, like, I guess the structure we have now. So then we literally forgot. We don't know who we are. And before we did, like before we lived off of we all knew what God was. We all knew we were all one. We never warred.